banking on the cosmetic industry, why Flametree Group is betting on the beauty industry. Good evening. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. This is the Trading Bell. I'll be talking to Heril Bangera. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Flametree Group. He'll be telling me why the future looks so beautiful. And of course, we'll also be looking at how the figures have traded at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. Welcome to the Trading Bell. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Let's start. So, Mr. Heril, thank you very much indeed for joining us on the Trading Bell.
Thank you for having me.
Since you listed on the growth enterprise market that was about 3 years back,
Exactly.
what would you say has been your biggest achievement so far?
As a company, since listing, we've continued to keep on growing, Flametree Group. One of the advantages of having listed was getting additional capital into the business.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, getting capital for any enterprise or business in Kenya is quite difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And that injection of capital into the business has helped us grow further.
Mm-hmm. And of course, last year we saw the interest capping law, coming into effect, and we know for sure this has somehow impacted negatively SMEs. What has been the impact on your business?
On us, we've definitely had an effect. You've seen our customers finding it more difficult to pay their payments, so our cash flow cycles have got affected. Again, the banks have been reluctant to lend. We've found them not as receptive as they were in the past. And eventually what happens is your objectives or your goals that you have as a business need to be scaled down. So it has affected us, but as Flametree Group, we've still managed to weather the storm. Mm-hmm. Because of our portfolio of different businesses and geographies we operate in. And we're still positive about the future.
Mm-hmm. As a company or as a group, have you been forced to refocus or to retweak your strategy, your growth strategy going forward because of the interest capping law?
We've tried to restrict that we carry on our budgets, mm-hmm. But if I'd like to say that we've carried on our projections and our budgets, but if we look more closely to what has happened, we've fallen back probably about 6 months. So the planning or approval stages for loans or facilities have taken longer than they should have. So we have scaled down in certain countries. But overall, we're still carrying on our strategy and on our budget.
Mm-hmm. And you're in the business of fast-moving consumer products like cosmetics and lotions and all these. What affects your business more in this environment?
I think the interest capping, if we want to look at, is the retail sector has been a little slow in payment. So payment has been coming very slowly to us. But if you look at our numbers as our portfolio, as a business, we're not very heavily geared. So we could still talk to the banks and get more facilities. However, the fact that these retailers are not paying on time does affect us and eventually affects the whole cycle. Mm-hmm. Secondly, what we've been seeing on the retail end is that there has been a softening of demand. It seems that customers or the number of people walking through stores has been reducing. I don't know if the purchasing power seems to be actually a bit strained at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Could this be because of the looming elections, or could this be a sign of tough macroeconomic environment?
It could be. I don't know if I have the answer for all of that.
You can take a shot.
I wish I had that magical ability to look at, know exactly what the answers are. Mm. But I can say I think there are many fundamentals that have changed the market scenario at the moment. Elections being one of them. I do believe as well the interest capping, and there's been a number of other things that has affected business. Mm-hmm. But for us as Flametree Group, the way I look at it is let's look at the business not today, but let's look at it where we will be 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. The fundamentals are great. Kenya is growing, Africa is growing, the middle income is growing. So issues that we have today, elections will be there today and will be there again in the next 5 years? Should we focus as a business just on that, or should we look at the long term? For us, we look at the long term.
You look at the long term. And I'm very sure somebody, must be watching this program, and we have seen and heard, so many CEOs saying that, the coming elections, they're somehow affecting the business environment. And somebody must be watching this program and asking themselves, Flame Group, is big, especially in the cosmetic industry. And they must be asking themselves, the elections are coming, but how does that stop me from, for example, applying lotion on my hands?
Exactly. There's a need for everybody. Everybody needs lotions, everybody needs food, everybody needs water tanks. It doesn't stop whether an election is coming or not. And the great thing about Kenya, we've become democratic, so the process or the people carry on living independent of what elections come or not. If I look back on our history, when we started in 89, it was getting close to 91 when multi-party elections was coming in, and people were so negative to me at that time starting a business, saying that this is absolutely the worst time. But we carried on. And I don't think we should mix politics as much with business as people in Kenya do talk about, because Kenya will be there irrespective of the elections that are coming. Absolutely. So we should invest for the future and not invest just for today.
And am I getting it from you that, you have seen worse times than these?
For me as an entrepreneur, yes, for sure. I know it's times where we hardly had any money and you really are pushing. And I think that's what makes us entrepreneurs much stronger, seeing difficult times. So I don't think this is the worst time. Although I wish times, as every entrepreneur, businessman, I like to see better times. And I wish our plans could have crystallized a little faster. But I'm still so positive. And last year we saw your gross profits going up by about 12.1%. This is a bit softer. Would you say so? If you look at our numbers, our profit after tax dropped last year. It's a difficult time. There are a number of things. The environment in Kenya was tight. We had other issues in Mozambique, huge devaluations in the country. The currency plummeted, affecting business. So are we only going to complain about Kenya? But there are issues around the continent. But if you look at the fundamentals, look at a country like Mozambique, it's been growing, one of the fastest in Africa. So blips, every growth has a drop and a growth again. So I like to see the long term. I like to see positives out of every situation.
You have your eyes, of course, trained on the long term. But of course, it should not get lost to us that even the present is also very important. Are you concerned about the rising operational cost, which went up by 23%? This should, of course, keep your eyes up at night, right?
Absolutely. One of the things is our costs did go up. But why did our costs go up? We did a number of acquisitions. These acquisitions were not on our books prior to 2016. So they came on our books this year. So the sales of their sales also came, so did their costs. So if we add their costs, that's one of the parameters why costing went up. Secondly, our costing did go up because generally inflation has been going up all over Kenya and across different countries. I agree that costing should go up, but our ball should be to contain costing, and our eyes should be really as well focused in increasing revenue.
I want to find out from you, Bangera. You operate in 6 countries. Of Kenya, Mauritius, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Mozambique. Of these countries, where do you see your growth coming in the medium term?
If you look at our business portfolio, Kenya still stands to be the strongest part of our business, and Kenya still seems to be growing. What we are doing is we are planting seeds for future harvesting. So we are putting businesses and industries that we want to be in, or sectors, so that as Kenya grows, so do those other countries. So we're always seeing, if I can put it in a way, that we have some businesses in different parts of their business growth. Some are more mature, some are less mature. So in Kenya, we have our more mature businesses. But if we if you ask me the question, which I think your question is, which of these countries are the best countries? Kenya still far beats all the other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we know that you acquired a Suzy Beauty, a company in Chirag, which is a manufacturer of crisps.
Yeah, that's right.
And what are you eyes trained on next?
I think within our portfolio of cosmetics, fast-moving cosmetics, Suzy Beauty color cosmetics, snacks like chips and peanuts like Chirag, spices and tanks. I think we've got so much growth opportunities within those products, and that's where we are focusing. Our focus and our strategy at the moment is to make sure our products are world-class, and that's technically our projections at the moment. But I'm not saying that we're not going to look at acquisitions. If acquisitions do come our way, we'll definitely consider them.
You have a very interesting mix of portfolio, from plastic tanks to cosmetic products to crisps and cashew nuts. I mean, this is a very interesting portfolio. What else are we likely to have on your list next?
No, where do we see ourselves? We see ourselves in future saying to be more of an FMCG business. Historically, we come from plastics, which eventually evolved into FMCG. So that's where we see ourselves. But you're pushing for what new acquisition? No, I would like to see ourselves within that terrain of FMCG. Yeah, but FMCG itself is a huge area.
It's a huge area. Yeah. Because we have to wrap it up, Bangera, I mean, you've been in this business. You've been an entrepreneur for more than 25 years. That's his quarter of a century. Did you know that?
Yeah, I feel old sometimes.
Well, you don't look it. But tell me this, what have you learned for that quarter of a century that you have been in business, actually?
I feel you need to do something that's more than just for the money. If your focus is just for the money, then it loses meaning over the period of years that you're running your business, because they're going to be good times, but they're going to be many difficult times. So, and if your focus is just on the money, then you lose value of why you're doing what you're doing. For us at Flame Tree, we want to build an African business that makes world-class products. So whether the times are bad, whether the times are good, our focus is the same. So I think it's important to have the real reason why you're in business, and it shouldn't just be all about the money.
It's good to define your passion, why you're in that business.
That's right.
Heril, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and of course for your insight.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimani.
Appreciate it. Heril Bangera is Group CEO of Flame Tree Group, joining us here on the Trading Bell to help us understand where the market is going. This is the Trading Bell. We are back shortly. Market, they are becoming a surprise feature on the top gainers list. Elizabeth Wangeshi is the head of research at Genghis Capital, joining us here to put these figures into perspective. Thank you very much indeed, Elizabeth. First of all, before we talk about how the market performed, can you give us an update on how M-Akiba is faring?
All right, thank you for having me this evening. For M-Akiba, the last updated information available to the public indicated that they have an amount of around 117 million, which is fairly below the expectation, because the targeted value is 1 billion. So far so good. We are not doing very well on that space. Yes.
And with about a week to go before the offer is closed, do you see the government hitting the target?
Well, I don't see the government hitting the target because it's just slightly 2 weeks. I think what has made this subscription lower is most probably the public is not really aware or understanding the Emakiba product. So it's a new product offering that is quite not very well understood by everyone. Yes.
So it's a question of marketing.
Yes.
And how comes there was heightened interest on the first offer?
Well, I would peg that on the fact that the amount, the level of investment that you need to do is quite low. So every investor can afford that. So from what it was appearing like, it looked like a product that would really be subscribed very well. Yes.
So what happens in case the government doesn't realize the 1 billion shillings it was targeting?
We will still offer it again to the public. Yes.
So it is subject to, it can be reopened in the future.
Yeah.
Very well. Let's now come back to the market. Uchumi supermarket, there has been talks about the supermarket chains, securing or holding talks with a strategic investor. Could this be the reason why it has become one of the top gainers?
Yes, this was majorly driven by that corporate news, but later on Uchumi came out with a note informing investors that they're still in talks with the strategic investors and they haven't yet signed the deal. So this move, or even the share price appreciation, I would peg it on now speculative trading. Yeah.
What do you think is likely to happen once the announcement is made that yes, indeed, we have managed to bag a strategic investor?
Well, this would boost the investor confidence on Uchumi, but again, the uptake could be a bit wait-and-see approach, because we've seen the retail sector struggling. It's not only Uchumi that is struggling on that space. So we would see investors mostly trading from a speculative angle. Yes.
And when you look at the indices, the four of them, I mean, the three indices, you realize that they are all going up against a lot of expectations that as we head to the elections, we're likely to see the market losing momentum.
Well, the indices, all of them have been going up. These mostly driven by the large counters. So we've seen increased participation over the past few weeks, mostly on the large counters, the likes of Safaricom. On the banking sector, we've also seen a slight increase on the energy sector. So we expect to see the same. It's quite interesting because most investors would presume that because we're headed to the elections that the indices would actually go lower, but we've seen continued interest on this segment. Yes. And
when you look at top movers, we have Safaricom, of course, being the traditional leader in these with 22 million shares. Then we have Cooperative Bank, interestingly, with 15.5 million shares. And on number 4, we have Equity Bank. Is it a sign that there's a lot of appetite for the banking industry?
Well, for the banking industry, the appetite has always been there. The only impending factor was the rate cap, but we've seen the banks strategizing to see how they can work with the law in place. So again, investors are also interested in the counters. Their liquidity also is attractive for any investor who wants to liquidate at any one point. And in terms of fundamentals, they still pose a very good entrance. Yes.
On a day like this next week, what do you expect to happen?
We expect the same trading on the banking sector, the likes of KCB Equity. I would mention on Cooperative, being a top mover, it was mostly driven by the fact that the bonus issue was closing last week. So we saw most investors coming in so that they could lock in the increase of shares. So going forward this week, we still expect to see momentum on Safaricom and on the banking sector, on selectively some stocks, and also on the insurance sector, we also expect to see something happening.
But what?
Yes.
Elizabeth, thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much
Elizabeth
for having me.
She is the head of research at Genghis Capital, joining us here on the Trading Bell. We're coming to you, as always, from the trading floor of Nairobi Securities Exchange. Stay right here.
The difference between a rights issue and an IPO is that a rights issue is shares issued by a company to its existing shareholders, proportionate to their holding of shares. So they issue the rights issue at a specified price. And an IPO, these are shares issued by a private company for the first time to the public, and they are open for every investor.
And with that, we come to the end of the Trading Bell show for today. Many thanks indeed for joining us. We look forward for the same company right here on KBC Channel 1 next week. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We always encourage you to get in touch with us. Our SMS line is 22162. At O'Brien Kimani is my Twitter handle. At the Trading Bell is our Twitter handle, and Facebook page is the Trading Bell TV show. We'll see you again on Thursday, same time, right here on KBC Channel 1. From me and the rest of the Trading Bell crew, we wish you a good evening. Bye for now.